Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 151 of Geeks of Azeroth. It's me, Tarley. With me, as always, I've got SleepyGary.
Hello.
I've got Wide Awake Britzza.
Definitely wide awake. Not.
And joining us this week, we've got Alisaunder.
Hey.
And we're going to talk to you about everything that kind of exploded out of nowhere. We kind of predicted it last week, but 8.0 has finally been dropped on the beta, alpha, client, whatever, for our data mining pleasures. But we'll kick off the week talking about what we've been up to. And Alisaunder, since you're our special guest this week, we want to know about who you are and what you've been doing in the Blizzardverse.
I've been watching Starcraft tournaments. I play a lot of World of Warcraft, and I am on the Hunting Party podcast. I'm a chat mod, and sometimes I'm on the show, and I'm a frequent emailer to podcasts all over the Blizzard universe.
Awesome. So what have you done this week particularly? Anything you're just stuck on doing, playing in WoW?
I've been helping some friends of mine that just started WoW a few months ago to get their flight in Legion. So it's been a long time coming, but they're getting so close that
Nice.
It's sort of a mix of I'm so burnt out, but I'm so close. What do I do? Well, let's go on a transmog run. So we did a lot of that this week.
Nice.
And rep grinds.
All right, Gary, what have you been up to?
Overwatch, I think. This week's been kind of a blur for me. I feel like I've been really busy, but I don't think I actually have. So I want to say Overwatch. I think that's about it. A little bit of WoW. Yeah.
Myself, well, this last week we got ahead of the curve. We finally killed Apocalyptic Horseman. Finally killed heroic. What's his name? Argus. We in 9 pulls. This was our total, so that was
Nice.
pretty awesome. He was significantly easier than Coven was, for sure.
That is what they say.
Yeah. So pretty happy to have that. And then, I don't know if I'm going to unsub from WoW now because I feel like that would affect my chances of getting beta. I don't know how that works, but I'm going to keep my sub, but I'm kind of happy to be taking a little vacation from WoW at this point and playing tons of Overwatch. I think I've played like 100 matches this week in competitive. Just so much. So much.
A glutton for punishment, aren't you?
Yeah. Britt, so what about you? What have you been up to?
Not as much as I thought I would be. You may not know, or may not notice. You're not going to notice on the podcast, certainly. But I've got the Widowmaker statue behind me, and I finally have got around to actually filming that unboxing and review video.
So you finally unboxed it after having it sitting in its box, for months.
Individually picking the polystyrene apart. Yeah. So I'm really glad to be at the end of it. And now I'm looking more distantly at the Overwatch Collector's Edition art book that I also plan to do an unboxing for and promised myself that I wouldn't open at all until I got to the end of this video. So yeah, there's a bit of a backlog going on. But in terms of gaming, WoW, actually, and that was before the announcement. So just kind of enjoying bringing all my characters up to speed. I'm definitely going to level a couple. I have my Demon Hunter ready to go, and yeah, I want to at some point go back and try and level a hero from 1, all the way to some of the later levels. So I'm just really loving WoW. And then obviously this week happens and everything's great and everyone's loving WoW again. It's fantastic.
It may be best to hold off on leveling that character till the new races come out, which might be sooner than expected.
In my mind, yes.
I remember
totally.
something I did this week.
Oh.
Yes.
So I wanted to take advantage of this new leveling and actually, kind of see what it was like because the forums, as Taliesin has put it, have been a shit show.
Yes.
Obviously.
Obviously. So I was just kind of BSing around on Twitch, watching a few different streamers, and there was one doing an Iron Man challenge. And I'm like, this is a great 2 birds, 1 stone moment. So I decided to enroll a character in an Iron Man challenge and try out the new leveling with it. And Iron Man challenges are significantly more difficult now. But the leveling actually felt really good, even being super underpowered because I wasn't really getting gear. But yeah, I approve of the leveling. It's got Gary's stamp of approval.
Nice.
We did that. We did that last week the day after the patch, because my friends didn't know about it yet, and so we decided to go roll some warlocks to take a day off from the grinding, as you do. And it is a lot of fun. We hit at the Blood Elf Warlock zone, and just 4 hours, 19. We weren't even trying hard. It was amazing.
Nice.
Of course, that's all going to be a fiery hell sooner or later. I feel really gutted that Teldrassil isn't like they're going to zone it, aren't they? I feel like you should start as a night elf in a burning tree. That's how you should start the experience, because then you really understand what hatred for the Horde's like.
Yeah. Well, it's time to jump into it, everybody. It's time for news of the week.
Hey, we recording? Yeah? Okay.
News of the week.
That's right. It's time for news of the week, and big news this week, as we predicted last week. Patch point 8.0, the Battle for Azeroth patch. I couldn't think of the name of the expansion there for a second. Is live. It's not really live, but it's available for data mining. And boy, has there been a lot data mined. I'm sure if you have a YouTube account and you play World of Warcraft, you have happened to have seen every WoW YouTuber is out and talking about this stuff, except for Preach. I haven't seen anything from Preach on it yet, but he's waiting to play, I would imagine. Basically nothing's available to play, but we can see all of this cool stuff, including spoilery quest text, all these new mounts, which are fantastic looking. But before we dive into that, there's some things that actually went live on real servers this week, specifically Recruit a Friend changes that have the forums responding all happily about. Just kidding. They have nerfed the Recruit a Friend experience boost gain from 300% down to 50%, which is massive.
And it no longer stacks with heirlooms either.
No longer stacks with heirlooms.
So if you have heirlooms, it's gone. There's no XP boost at all. In fact, you get less.
And this is on top of them already nerfing heirlooms, so they don't give you any stat bonuses. So the forums are kind of upset, of course. But Blizzard's statement on this was that it really, using Recruit a Friend felt like a cheat code, and a lot of people were buying other accounts for some reason and then just boosting a character that way instead of just paying $60 for a character boost. But this nerf makes sense to me. If you're gonna boost through the experience with a friend, at least they nerfed it to a point where you're still gonna see the content. 300% boost. I mean, you're gonna get 10 levels in a dungeon. Like, you go into Dead Mines and you'll go from like 20 to 30%, or level 20 to 30. That's how it used to be.
Especially now that it scales too.
Yeah.
So even when you're at the end of that dungeon, you're still getting relevant experience.
Yeah. I mean, a 50% increase to experience is still a decent buff to your experience gain. But for the purpose of Recruit a Friend, what this idea to do is to bring somebody new into World of Warcraft and play the leveling experience with you. I think 300% was a bit ridiculous because you don't get that leveling experience at that rate. That didn't make sense.
That and like it not stacking with heirlooms also makes sense because a brand new account's not going to have heirlooms and you're trying to level together with a friend.
Right. So if you were wearing heirlooms, then you would gain experience that much faster and then be ahead of your friend anyway. So.
And of course the first month bonus still exists. You still get a month of free game time. So not a lot of people are talking about that. I know it's like compared to a character boost, it's only a sixth of the cost, but still, like you get a pretty fair deal for bringing someone in. And like you said, Tarley, I remember playing vanilla when I would get back from school and I'd log in with my friends, we'd play together for the night, and then we'd log off again. And that was what made WoW fun. And I think, it's definitely trying to set Recruit a Friend as this sort of more wholesome experience where you're supposed to actually be playing with a friend, not sitting there going, right, see you later, you can only play 2 hours, I'm off to go hit 60 before dinner or something like that. So, it sounds better. And I, again, not to keep referencing Tellius and Nevertell, but I think his thoughts on it just kind of really resonated with the community about how it's not a problem unless you already had a problem with the leveling system.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying that it's not really Recruit a Friend that we need anymore because Do you actually have any friends that don't play World of Warcraft? I mean,
No.
I don't.
I
I do, but they wouldn't be interested.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, I'm in
it's
that
more a
boat.
request of can we bring back people that used to play
Yeah.
for like one of the guys that I play with. He's been talking to a friend at work about Legion who hasn't played since Wrath, and the guys start to get interested, and so he's a potential recruiter friend to come back. Whereas recruiter friend, I mean, you have to almost have kids and then wait till they get old enough to use a mouse to find anyone new these days.
Gary's
That is a
training kids early.
genius idea.
Now, this kind of goes on top of an argument, I guess, that's been being talked about a lot lately on the forums, and that's whether
Arguing on the
Activision-
forums, really?
Yeah, I know. Gasp. Whether Activision is putting a heavy hand into Blizzard's development of World of Warcraft and pushing for more pay-to-win situations with, still offering a $60 character boost, and then nerfing the recruiter friend bonuses, and then nerfing, of course, the experience gain. So making the $60 option to buy a character more appealing. I can definitely see where that argument comes from. And it may be that the higher up, people with the suits are pushing for more microtransactions, and because that's the state of gaming these days. If you don't like it, sorry, that's going to be here to stay for the considerable future. Microtransactions are profitable, but is Blizzard actively pushing you to buy them? I don't know.
Well,
I think
if
You go
Blizzard
ahead.
really wanted to monetize World of Warcraft, all they need to do is do the loot boxes and put
Right.
in new transmog. Not even have to be fancy stuff, just a skimpy bikini top, some sexy little leggings, some thigh high, anything, stilettos. There's new hairstyles, new hair colors.
Mhm.
There's so much that they could do for just $5 loot box that's proven to be wildly popular. I
Yeah.
get loot boxes in games I don't even play just because I want the thing to pop open and like fireworks go off and it spins around and I can play coins and it's fun.
Well, we don't know how the Warfront appearances are going to be put into the game, so who knows? Loot boxes might be coming to Battlefield. I don't seriously believe that, but it's a really good point, because you could totally monetize the hell out of World of Warcraft. You wouldn't just do that. You could plug the store with even more mounts and exclusive stuff. Heck, put Invincible on the store, put all this other collectible stuff on the store. Raise the fee slightly by an extra $1 or an extra £1 here in the UK. You could totally squeeze the money out the player base, but this is about leveling experiences. This is something that's not even vital content.
I wouldn't be surprised if what happened is Activision was like, hey, you should encourage this, and Blizzard is like, we will do something that may encourage it, but we're going to do it our way. And we're going to do this by improving the experience for people.
Yeah.
And if it forces people into buying this, it happens. Like, not everyone wants to take advantage of this new content.
Right.
But for those that do, we're going to give them good content now.
And we've seen games that have failed under Activision's heavy hand, Destiny. I mean, that is definitely a game that has fallen to the wayside due to a terrible money scheme that Activision did. And Blizzard, you can just tell Blizzard does not have any want to go down that road. I mean, Overwatch is their most microtransaction heavy game, I think, or Heroes, and yet still it's not done at a like pay to win type connotation. Like Blizzard has always done microtransactions in the right way, and I don't think that how they've handled the leveling system is a stab towards a microtransaction World of Warcraft. Like, I just don't feel like that was their intention behind it at all. I mean, I definitely think you can take a negative spin to it, but it just doesn't feel that way.
And
I mean, the biggest thing you can say is these complaints are justified. I mean, they're bringing up completely valid points, but it doesn't mean that it's the only point and the only way of looking at it.
Exactly.
There actually was a news article that came out this week about the stock price for Activision, and it's gone up because someone has decided that Activision's in the perfect place to monetize mobile games, and had a list of all the platforms: Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Starcraft, everything but the the other game that's dead, we're going to be going mobile, and so it was boosting the stock price on the expectation that Activision is going to go heavily mobile, especially Blizzard games.
Well, that would only matter if they were, say, developing a secret mobile platform game.
Yeah. So
I haven't
that
heard
kind of
anything about that.
speculation is. Oh wait, yeah. Cough, cough. Something to look forward to at BlizzCon this year, maybe. Who knows?
Well, that was my last year's BlizzCon prediction. I'm not going to get caught twice.
Closing
Don't get caught with your beard in the letterbox.
Never. But closing the recruiter friend discussion, in a sense, like none of this matters because if pre-orders for Battle for Azeroth come out next Tuesday, everyone's going to get another character boost next Tuesday. So there's going to be fewer people leveling anyways. So
actually, I think there's going to be a lot more people leveling.
Well, yeah, down the line because obviously you've got the adult races, but
yeah,
I think the fact that we're all going to have a character boost, I think, is going to fill the. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm losing my...
So that is a good segue into the next topic here. So obviously, as I mentioned in the opening, 8.0 is available to see and all that, and Blizzard has announced that there's going to be a Q&A on Tuesday, January 30th, to talk more about it. And it's pretty predictable. All the YouTubers, everybody's kind of predicting that on Tuesday they're going to announce both live alpha. Like I predict it will go live on Tuesday. And they're also going to announce pre-orders. That's a little bit up in the air, but I think this might hit Gary's point on the head. I hate admitting that Gary might be right about something. I really do. But if they announce alpha on Tuesday and they announced pre-orders, then we could potentially be seeing a summer release for Battle. Thank you, Hilgi3, for following.
I would not expect like an early summer release in any scenario though. Like July at the absolute earliest, but most likely I would say August. Maybe later in August even. Like August 30th would not be unreasonable.
See, the reason I'm giving you credit here is because it seems like Blizzard is trying to continue with that. Like we release a patch, following week we've got info on the next one, and then it's playable the following week. Like it just seems like that's how Blizzard's rolling with this.
Are we sure that it's not coming out in 77 days?
I mean, I would love to be surprised, but I don't think the entire next expansion is going to follow the patch cycle. Maybe pre-patch could come that early. Who knows? I mean, really, it's hard to say.
I honestly would not be upset about a longer pre-patch, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you give me 11 weeks of pre-patch, yeah, it's going to be kind of frustrating at the end of it, but that's going to give me so much time to actually learn what character I want to main in the next expansion, because I'll be able to play with, all of the new changes, and that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think even Taliesin even like kind of hinted that he thinks that a pre-patch is coming sooner, just because it sounds like Blizzard will want to test the what am I thinking of? Somebody number crunch.
Oh, stat squish.
Yeah, the stat squish. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. It would make sense that Blizzard would want to test that a little bit sooner too, get that into our hands.
And the whole professions revamp. Which is significantly revamped.
Again. Because they said they were revamping Professions and Legion, but,
I don't think Professions and Legion have really worked out half as good as people thought, though. Like, even
I mean, sure they had interesting quest content for some of them, and others, they said interesting content.
Yeah, that's it. It's definitely been imbalanced towards one or two.
But really, we have... I guess Blizzard has only made one official statement so far in 2018 about their what they want for Battle for Azeroth, and that was kind of around class balance and class design. And it was pretty interesting. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but kind of a TLDR is that they're really going to be focusing more on class roles this expansion, it seems. So classes who are meant to be more utility will actually have that more as a focus. Like I would say, like Enhancement Shaman, maybe they'll actually be enhancing people. I don't know. What was your guys' take on their little water cooler that they came out with?
Everything should be viable, but in a unique way, is what I kind of got out of it. Like, don't always bring a marksman hunter. Sometimes a shadow priest will be better. Like, it was kind of what I got out of it.
I don't like the idea of them pushing for like mythic style rating for everyone though, like everybody min-maxing different specs and different comps for like normal or heroic rating.
But let's be honest, they never balance everything very well.
That's true. I mean, Blizzard
all the
hasn't
new-
really understood class balance since Classic, but
And all the new races are going to be severely OP anyway.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you bring only the best
You're
thing when
only
it's
allowed
always
to
going
have
to be a void
Nightborn.
elf?
Only Nightborn on our 18. Yeah.
It's a good point because when you look at some of the hybrid classes, why should paladins feel the need to compete on every role when they can't just be valued for having that ability to switch in and out? I think that's something that I've always struggled with playing as Pally, that I'm expected to be hitting the high DPS, but also when I switch to Holy, I'm supposed to be hitting high heals as well, when in fact people can't value the fact that if someone drops out, there's a Paladin that can perhaps jump in and do 70% of the job. So I like the idea of utility classes getting more, some focus, because that's why I play them. I love them because they are utility classes.
This may be a controversial subject, but I think Blizzard should balance classes so that each spec has a similar stat line, so that players can, if they're playing one class, they actually can hop between specs and then not having to worry that much about gearing two different specs at once. Like for me, example, I could play my Brewmaster or my Mistweaver and not be just totally having to have two sets for that. Like, because I've geared Brewmaster this patch, and now I can't really play my Mistweaver at all because I don't have the gear for it.
It would be so hard to do that, though. You would have to restructure so many classes.
Well, I mean, a new expansion would be the time to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes down to it, haste is just god tier for pretty much any tank because it gives you more mitigation, right? Whereas haste is super counterintuitive for almost any healer because it causes you to burn through more mana. And that you'd have to entirely change how specs function.
Yeah. My Mistweaver has 30% haste right now.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's great for dungeons. But...
that's fair. When you can sit and drink all the time, yeah. And you don't have me tanking for you.
But yeah, I wouldn't go in expecting major overhauls to your classes. You can actually check out the kind of rough talent calculator right now. Wowhead, of course, with everything that is dropped, Wowhead has done a great job compiling everything for us, including a talent calculator. I went ahead and just looked at Monk, and it's like nothing at all has changed. I would like to see more of like where, just kind of look at my entire spell book for Monk to see if they've made anything from my artifact baseline or not. But as far as talents go, they have not changed my talents at all.
Also, remember that this is a first pass, so there may be a lot more things to change.
I can guarantee it will change because this is just the framework for what they will be updating.
They have a TBD on like leg sweep, which is my AoE stun, and if they take that away from me, I'm going to be very sad. But I think they might, because they don't want every class to have an AoE stun, which at this point they do. So mine might be going away.
They did say that a lot of the abilities from our artifacts will be rolled into our main class.
Mm-hmm. Except that, like, they did make specific examples, like Resto Druid might not get Walking Transcendence or Tranquility Transcendence. I'm Overwatch.
Which is fair enough. You don't.
No, it's not.
These things.
That was the only thing that made Resto Druid good.
I play Resto Druid, and if they put something more interesting in there, I'm fine with that. It's not like you can't use Tranquility.
Yeah,
just
and
think about your placement.
I don't know if it was in this poster. They did say somewhere that what did they say? That they like what they did with our artifacts, but they want it. What happens with the armor what's it called, Azerite armor, or the Heart of Azeroth armor, to bring something different, not necessarily replace what artifacts were, but we'll have different abilities to play around with and different stuff like that. So sure, some of the fun stuff we got out of artifacts was cool and fun for Legion. We're going to be getting something new for battle. So don't necessarily think of it as a total loss. If you don't get some of those abilities baseline, you'll probably have some other new ability that's cool and to play around with. So
Also, remember, this is happening to everyone.
yeah.
So, yes, you may deal a lot less damage, but so is everyone else, so you'll still be balanced.
Yeah, so like a lot of those traits, like the kind of minor things that just gave you a pure buff on your artifact, that's all going to be gone too. I doubt that's going to go baseline, but you'll gain more power again as you get your Azerite armor and your Heart of Azeroth upgraded, and however that works. We still don't know a lot about that.
Next week at the Q&A.
Yeah.
Probably. I was going to say, what do you think is going to get discussed in the Q&A? You know, I think they'll mention pre-orders probably towards the end, but Heart of Azeroth, how that's going to work, maybe Warfronts. Is there anything else we're hoping to hear about?
I want a question in there to be, WTF are Warfronts M8 Blizzard? Sincerely, entire WoW community.
Honestly, I don't even know if Blizzard knows what they are, but speaking of the Warfronts, a lot of the armor kind of got data mined. Like, we can't actually see what some of the sets look like other than the two plate ones that they showed at BlizzCon, but they did show some icons. We are able to data mine some icons for the Cloth Alliance set, and I think it was the Male Alliance set, and then the plate Horde set was revealed as well through those data mines. But man, it makes me, this expansion more and more makes me want to play Alliance. The things I'm seeing out of it.
Good
from
boy.
the art.
That's the right answer.
that cloth armor set is just amazing looking.
Well, they've just
Traitor.
released the Zandalari stuff as well. You
Oh,
have a look
yeah,
at that. You probably want to check that out. I will say that the character in the stuff we've seen so far, I don't know if maybe they've released the best first, but there's definitely a lot of character in these sets. I know that goes without saying. It sounds like such a non-comment, but they could have easily screwed this up like they have with some tier sets, especially like the Warlords tier sets, which just were all over the place. So really pleased with the stuff I'm seeing.
And I'm going to put money down right now. If those little fox people are not an allied race by the end of battle, then I'll donate $1,000 to Geeks of Azeroth.
I won't take that bet.
Yeah, I mean, the way that the detail in some of these races that we've been data mined it's so crazy. I can't imagine they wouldn't be allied races. I mean, look at the new Coltiran humans, like both the extremely skinny models, like the scraggly looking dudes, and then the bigger models. Someone I saw on Reddit, someone made a chunkier Jaina and said someone's been having too many mana buns.
Are they simply, and I've seen a lot of people talk about like how they're getting proportions better on character models, and obviously, you know,
Absolutely.
not everyone is
except for Anduin's nose. I don't know what's up with that.
We'll fix that. But are these actually going to be changes to the actual character models that we choose, or is this just simply character models for the Coltirans and the NPCs we'll be fighting?
Yeah, I definitely think the Coltiran humans will be a allied race. I don't think that'll be changes for regular humans.
But do you think you will have more flexibility on the build of characters across most of the races?
I don't know. Since they haven't said anything about it, I don't think we'll be getting new options for the current races. I think they're going to just go in on sub races, allied races.
Well, at least it's an option, I guess, at the very least.
I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, that would be my thought on it. I don't think they're going to put too much into the existing races. I think they'll go all out on more allied races, sub races, whatever.
I would be inclined to agree.
Me too.
Yeah.
They did so much work on pages and pages and pages of entirely new creatures and monsters and mounts and everything. I can't imagine they had time to add 10 new noses or whatever.
And definitely don't worry, Alisaunder. I do want to go back to your point on Tespa that you had in our show notes, but I'm trying to keep all the WoW stuff together, and then we can go back to that.
No, that's fine.
So speaking on more stuff that was data mined, the mounts, and the just the sheer variety of mount types that we're seeing here. I mean, it's blowing me away, and I'm just getting more and more hyped for this expansion just because of the mounts and the type of stuff we're going to be seeing. I'm so excited. So there's going to be a new Grand Expedition Yak or Mammoth type, repair mount. # repair mount.
Did someone say repair mount?
Someone say repair mount. Yeah, if you're in our guild, you would understand the meme. Basically, if one person asks for a repair mount in raid, everybody pulls out their repair mount.
Well, it's not just that, but engineers are getting a new hammer that will just bang do it individually.
What?
There's a lot of cool engineering.
Oh no, that's blacksmiths. Blacksmiths get that hammer.
Is it?
Yeah, so blacksmiths get a 60-minute CD on-use item that automatically repairs all of your gear. But the really cool part about this is it doubles as your blacksmithing hammer, and anything you make with it has a chance to be created with the indestructible tag.
Oh, that's cool.
So, you know how we talked about they were going to balance professions? Like, everyone's going to have to be blacksmith now.
Wait. I want to go back to the repair mount. It's a giant...
no one cares about that, Tarley.
It's a giant dinosaur. It's looking like it's one of the biggest mounts ever made.
The Brontosaur one. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. And there's also, like, they data mined another model of it that looks even bigger than the mount that has, like, an entire storefront on its back. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm blown away out of some of these characters.
Who needs a capital city? I've got a mount.
The B mount, I mean, that looks like something. I don't know if you guys saw that data mine, but the B mount looks like a model that we've never seen in game before, as well as like the blood monster looking thing. I hope that's a mount. I don't know if it is or not, but it looks cool.
Yes, the blood
we're just getting so many new models, like new architecture, and like not stuff that's just overriding previous things we've seen in game. Like, I'm just so proud of Blizzard. You keep giving us some amazing content. Like Legion was great. I think Battle might actually top Legion, which I wasn't thinking it was going to.
And the engineering mount, like engineers finally got a mount. That's really cool. Like the amount of hype I have for this
floating head.
Yeah, the amount of hype I have for these hovercrafts is comparable to when they first announced the Mechanohog?
The mecha flying thing?
No, like the very first one.
The chopper?
The chopper.
Because
that was
a good mount.
That was so new when it came out, and I was just like, oh, this is great. But, now there's new hype here.
So, Alisaunder, you put in a whole section on profession changes that I didn't actually see at all when I was looking through all the leak stuff. So, why don't you tell us about that?
So much there was easy to miss. That wasn't even half or a quarter of the stuff that was listed there, but these are some of my favorite things. Engineer polymorph bombs. I don't even know what that is, but I love it. And then explosive bolts, which reminded me, because I'm a hunter, like we used to carry ammo around. Why would we be carrying crossbow bolts? I don't know, because they didn't say anything about arrows or bullets, just bolts. So, like, what is an explosive bolt? I don't know.
Are hunters getting ammo again?
I don't know. What is a bolt for, though, if it's not for a crossbow? I don't know.
Are you telling me we're getting polymorph bombs?
Because that's what it said. Engineers are going to make polymorph bombs. They're going to have explosive bolts, a surface skimmer, a 32-slot tailoring bag. That's not for engineers. And the tailored camouflage cloak. I am so excited and waiting for a camouflage cloak. Ever since they took it away from hunters. That was such a cool ability, and they took it away.
Channeling their inner Harry Potter. But, oh, man, like, I used to piss people off so much when we would get polymorph bomb as a debuff in Tomb of Sargeras. Now, our raid team is doomed. I can't wait.
We don't know anything about these other than the name of it, and sometimes the name wasn't even there. It was just like, insert name, here's what it basically is. It's a polymorph bomb. So the list was huge, though, and the whole description of profession list was just so incredibly vague, yet so enticing.
Looks like we're in for quite a treat there with professions. Hopefully, I mean, I like the structure for professions that they did with Legion, like giving them quest content and actually stuff motivating you to go out and improve your profession and grind your profession. Like at least they gave you somewhat of a reason to. Now I want more expanded professions, and it looks like Blizzard may be doing that. We need more details, but
not just that. Seeing professions which are clearly trying to give utility that has pretty much belonged to other classes up until now. Like if that camouflage cloak works exactly how we're all thinking, then what it means is, that mage ability that I have and that rogues in general, suddenly their abilities start to leak out into some of the other classes, which is great. Imagine paladins that can just camouflage when they're trying to go through a really tough mob area or something like that. That'd be fantastic. So,
except that completely negates the whole point of focus on the strength of your class.
Nah, take the camouflage cloak. Nah, let's have the cloak. It'd be fine.
Did you notice that they're having almost every profession has something about underwater to it? Leatherworkers are going to be making scuba suits. We're going to be making submarines. The surface skimmer, whatever that is. There's a lot of underwater stuff coming.
Yeah, I do think we might actually, and this is totally a tinfoil hat and a prediction for later on in the cycle, but I think one of the patch areas, like new patch zones, is going to be an underwater zone. That's just a tinfoil hat theory, but
at least part of it, maybe not the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
It would make sense though if we're gonna go fight Ajara in the second raid. Then we should probably go underwater for something.
Like I think Blizzard themselves really liked how they did Val'shir as a zone, and maybe players didn't like it necessarily, but I think Blizzard put a lot into that, and then we just didn't really revisit it because the players kind of complained about it. But I think if Blizzard gave themselves a chance to do that idea a bit better, I think they would absolutely do it, and I think this would be the expansion to do it for sure.
I think a lot of the problems they had, and I love that place myself.
It's beautiful.
A lot of the problems, that they had with the whole, like, is it above or is it below? They kind of solved that in, was it Warlords or Legion, with the whole arrows, so you could see. Go up or go down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that was Legion that or no, maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to Warlords.
And you have to
I think it was
Val'shir...
just the movement in Val'shir that bothered me.
Yeah, and the scale of it. I think that the thing with Val'shir in particular was that it was an option. It was, you had two other zones which were more traditional. They were on ground. You could work out where things were, traditional flight paths, that sort of thing. So people tended to stick with what was familiar. But the story there is fantastic, like absolutely brilliant, and I'd love to see that expanded.
I would almost prefer it to be like, I don't know, like a Gungan city from Star Wars Episode 1. And I hate bringing up Jar Jar Binks because he's a disaster, but at least their home city, like, I don't know, like a city that's underwater that you could see everything outside. I think that would be more of the lines of an underwater place I'd like to do, because I agree with Gary. The movement of the whole zone, just constantly swimming, felt weird.
You go crazy onto it.
You felt like you were going so slow, even if you were traveling at the same speed you normally were.
Right.
I think was
Unless
my
you got
biggest
the
issue with it. Well, even with the seahorse, like you just always felt like you were moving so slow, and it could just be the scale of the zone too. Maybe a smaller zone that's fully underwater is okay. Right, yeah. It's hard to say. If you think about Legion, like there's a lot of verticality in those zones. And if you have an underwater zone that has that type of verticality, but is, the size of High Mountain, maybe it's not so bad, because High Mountain's a small zone once you have flying and realize that it's mostly just going up and down hills.
I think because I have a feeling the Ajara raid is going to be very much like Throne of the Tides-esque in itself. Like, I feel like that's going to be an entire underwater raid, kind of. Because I don't think she's going to be up, because you've seen her model. Like, that was another thing that got data mined, was her model. It looked just like that concept painting we saw at BlizzCon. She's an octopus lady. She's like the coolest looking Naga ever made in the game. I don't expect to see her slithering around on the ground in a raid zone. I would expect it to be an underwater type.
I bet you it's like Icecrown and Kata in that you had the airships to play their role in delivering you to different segments.
Yeah.
I think you'll get like submarines dropping you off at wings that you then have to clear a boss inside a structure, and then you go out and you get taken to the next area. I think that's how it will probably work.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like how kind of disjointed Dragon Soul felt, but at the same time, Blizzard kind of did a good job with how, Tomb of Stargate, or not Tomb, on Taurus felt. Like, because you are being you kind of go different places on Taurus, but it feels a bit more connected. So if they did it in that sense, yeah, just you hop in a submarine and
I mean, that's what I want, but I would look at Dragon Soul with rose-tinted glasses because I only LFR'd it, so I'm probably not the best judge.
Trying to move us on here for time. One last thing. Yeah, right. We're going along today anyway, but definitely, I mean, there's a lot to cover, and we're going to be on it again next week. I can tell you right now, next week's episode is going to be all about Battle for Azeroth because the alpha will be out by that point, and we'll have had the Q&A to talk about. But I think I'll say one last thing that we can talk about here, and that would be the Fall of Lordaeron's scenario. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into spoilers, but you can kind of actually, because each step of the scenario was data mined, you can actually kind of tell how the Battle for Lordaeron is going to go based on that. But I'm not going to spoil that for our listeners today. Maybe we'll have a spoiler episode down the road once more and more is uncovered about the beta, but I'll leave that to the imagination for now. But the whole scenario is data mined. The map looks awesome. I mean, it literally looks like all of Silver Pine Forest and then Undercity is a part of this scenario. And it's obviously going to be different for Horde and Alliance. I'm expecting it to be very much like the Broken Shore, in the sense of like you'll be like Alliance and Horde will be doing the scenario at the same time. Might even have a PvP segment. Who knows?
Possibly. I think it's definitely, again, not mentioning any of the lines, it is definitely looking like it's going to live up to the hype that particular section of the story was.
If you have ever wanted to witness a full-scale battle in World of Warcraft, I think we're going to get that here, because it is literally taking off right where the cinematic ends. So we have that to look forward to. So that's enough about World of Warcraft for one episode, for now. So TESPA, which is Blizzard's collegiate esports division, has made several announcements this week about Heroes of the Dorm. Alisaunder, again, you brought this kind of to the forefront. Why don't you talk about why don't you tell us what they've been bringing?
They announced for Heroes of the Dorm, they're going to be starting the new one. They have more scholarships. They're going to be broadcast by Raycom Sports over a 5-week period. I don't know anything about that except that it's going to be across the entire U.S. Sorry, Britain. So hopefully there'll be more about that soon. There's just going to be a whole lot more of it coming out, and it should be, because it's going to be Raycom, it's not going to be locked behind like Facebook or something like that. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
So should we see it on Twitch this year?
I don't know. And then it's going to be a 64-team national championship bracket, so pretty much standard. They're also going,
a lot of colleges.
Yeah, and they're going to have a Hearthstone Collegiate Championship. I think this might be their first one. It's going to have $150,000 scholarship prizing. There's going to be teams of 3. I'm not sure if that's how Hearthstone tournaments normally work, where you've got teams of 3, or if that's a new thing.
It's not new to their collegiate series. They haven't. I don't think they've done any big collegiate tournaments yet, but the last collegiate tournament they did for Hearthstone was teams of 3.
Okay. Well, that's going to run for 7 weeks, and then there's going to play off some singular elimination championships and all the rest of that. That one will be on Twitch, and registration for all 3 of these has started January 22nd. Here's the Dorm closes February 5th, if you care. If you're that good, February 15th if you're into Hearthstone, and February 10th if you're into Starcraft, because they have started a Starcraft division, which will be offering $35,000 in scholarships and 16 teams of league, which are also going to be teams of 3, which is very strange for Starcraft because that's not normally how they do it. And that's really all we know about it, except it's going to run for over 8 weeks. and there's going to be 4 teams in the finals. So pretty much standard. It's also going to be on both Twitch and MLG.com. And it's eligible for people in the US and Canada, college gamers. So I don't know if they're going to be doing co-op or if they're going to be doing the standard single, 1v1 kind of thing. It doesn't really say. That's all it's really said. But still, we got scholarships for playing StarCraft, so I'm happy. No word on Diablo.
No Diablo collegiate tournament.
Story of Blizzard, isn't it?
I mean, this is really great. I mean, I love seeing Blizzard supporting college teams like this. I mean, I don't see any other esport doing major college tournaments for specifically like this. So this is really cool of Blizzard to support that scene and support college students who want to play esports. I wish there was an Overwatch, but this is all happening at the same time as the Overwatch League is going on, so I can see why they're putting all their eggs in that basket still for the Overwatch competitive scene. Maybe next year, maybe we'll see something.
I mean, Contenders is essentially what the college level Overwatch would be.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
It's not, but it's the equivalency.
So I mean, like it seems like both Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft, and Hearthstone have more of just kind of an open-ended system on how they do their esports, and Overwatch is they've really nailed down. This is our league. This is how you get into the league, and these are the kind of under the league tournaments. Like you just said with the Contenders, and of course the World Cup. So adding one more thing to that would just kind of flood the Overwatch esport market, I think.
And I guess there's space where the individual Overwatch League teams could sit there and say, well, actually, we're going to start sponsoring our own upcoming college players, and they're going to start to in a sense, bypass Blizzard and say, we'll do it ourselves, and we'll choose who we want to rep us.
And the community absolutely could do that. Speaking of community tournaments, there's going to be Creators of the Storm coming up in February as well. Look for me and Gary. We're going to be playing in that tournament. I'm terrified because I haven't played. It's been since before Alex Straza came out that I've played Heroes of the Storm. So
don't worry, we'll get carried by bacon.
Yeah.
just pick Maev, because Maev is just insane.
Maev
Shadowsong got announced.
Really?
Yeah, she's been announced for Heroes.
Oh, breaking news, everyone. To me, I didn't know. That shows you how much I pay attention to Heroes lately. I remember seeing the hints of the grain, and that was my guess was Maev. I didn't know they actually announced her though. That's cool stuff. Yeah. I thought they were about to announce Illidan, really. So.
He's already in.
I know. That's the joke. That's the joke, Alisaunder.
I got his kid in the loot box. What can I say?
I think that about wraps it up, unless I missed something for news. I mean, we have a lot on here that was kind of data mining. Again, we will go over more and more WoW stuff as time goes on. Thankfully, this stuff is coming out for us to have stuff to talk about.
Was one other really quick thing I wanted to mention, which was the collector's edition rewards: Seabraid Stallion, Gilded Ravasaur, and a Toddle Turtle. So I'm pretty excited for these.
Wait, so were those confirmed as the pre-order? Because I thought that people thought that was going to be a pre-order Alliance mount, but it turned out to be Anduin's mount.
I only get mine from official sources, Wowhead and MMO Champion. So.
Okay. All right, so it is really cool, actually, Horde and Alliance getting separate mounts for pre-order. It's really cool.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for this expansion, right?
Yep. I mean, and now that you look back, they were totally preluding to that with the BlizzCon mounts as well, having separate Horde and Alliance ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool. And of course, all the little pets. We get the cute little turtle, but that was just another thing that got data mined. All these adorable little pets, like the fluffy cat. It's so fluffy. Well, let's move on. It's time for... I'm all over the place today. It's time for discussion.
What's a Drenna anyhow? Can I drink it?
Discussion of the week.
This week, will Warfronts, with their MOBA-like structure, benefit from AI?
Well, so I'm going to lean on Alisaunder for this one because Alisaunder, you've contacted us probably quite a few times about the Starcraft AI tournament, and Tarley has outright refused to cover it because of his hatred for all things Starcraft. But I guess if we lean on what that tournament's doing and then break it open as a sort of discussion as to what Blizzard might do with AI in the future.
So let's Alisaunder, can you tell us what this StarCraft tournament is exactly?
Well, there's actually 3 tournaments that I know of that are being run by about AIs that are not related to Blizzard or DeepMind, because Google has not announced anything. It's not competed in any tournaments, at least not that the public is aware of. I'm sure internally there's something probably going on. But basically, this one is run by a university. They've been running it for about 5 years now. It started out as a class in AI, computer gaming AIs, and the class was divided up into teams, and the teams were to get together to make a bot to play StarCraft, and then they would compete, and they had to meet certain criteria, like they had to be able to beat the in-game current AI to pass the class. And a few years of later, they opened it up to the student division, and then everybody else that was interested. And this year they had 1,000 bots compete. And all the students passed, mostly because they were using Zergs, because they wanted to pass the class. They have 2 months to write their bot. The team divides up into one person will write the code for the economy, one will write for aggression, one will write for scouting, and then they have a guy that will combine all the bots together to make the bot, and then they enter it, and then I think they must have the ability to kind of fix the bot as the tournament goes on, because early on there was like a lot of crashes going on and just AIs that had problems and like had a breakdown or something like that. But they did say everybody did pass, so and they've been running it 24/7 for 6 weeks now, and they run it at like ×2 speed, so it's ridiculous to watch it. It's really kind of hard on the brain, but it's very interesting, I think. And I'm not even into like AIs or anything like that, but it's just pretty fascinating. So what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, it seems like, so with this push for AI, do you think this kind of AI that they've been building for StarCraft could benefit the World of Warcraft side of things? I think, Britzza, is that what we were going for with this discussion?
So
like, because we know that the island expeditions, like we've talked about how they have that you'll be competing against a more advanced AI. They've talked about it, but they haven't shown it off, of course. But they want it to be more like you're actually playing against other players if you're not. And then, of course, the war fronts are PvE in what sounds like should be PvP. So,
and they're constructed a bit like a MOBA. Like their structure is very lane based, and it's like Mr. GM Reviews was sort of showcasing it on his Twitter feed and on YouTube that is there going to be a bigger play for AI in Battle for Azeroth than we've seen previously, and seeing Alisaunder talk about this makes me think, well, actually, if they're partnering up with DeepMind in other areas outside StarCraft, I don't think they'll ever open up Warcraft necessarily in the same way, but they might take some of this botting tech and some of the ideas that these kids are coming up with and saying, well, maybe our game can benefit in that way. But Alisaunder, what do you think? Yeah,
it really depends what they want the bot to do, because if they want the bot to win, then you program it a certain way. If they just want the bot to compete, then that's a different thing that they have to do. But the bots that I've seen that these students made in 2 months, like just students, not even professionals, they are extremely sophisticated, and a lot of them are actually learning as they play. And they have certain, you can almost say they've got a personality to them. Like there's one called Marion Deveka. Hers is named Killerbot because it is a hyper-aggressive bot. And that is all it does, is it gets together enough resources to make a lot of really good units, upgrade them, and rush you. And not just rush you, but it will keep upgrading and advancing. It's basically like Skynet in the Terminator movies. It's kind of frightening to see it in action. And I've actually seen it earlier today, this morning. It was fighting the #2 winner of the student tournament. And it lost one game, and then it won the second game by it was really kind of brutal to see. But just this flood of lurkers. And these things can do things like they're so fast because they know exactly it. They all operate by fog of war. They don't know what they can't see, but once they've seen something, that they can guess where something else is. So a lot of their tactics are based around that. Like they'll send like 2 units forward, like 2 small units, but then they've got a larger unit of like a larger army just hanging back just outside of range. And so these 2 units, they'll rush forward. The other enemy will see that and go, oh, it's only 2. Well, we've got 6. So then they'll march forward to attack, and then they'll get pulled too far back because the 2 will run away. And if the AI can't handle that, it will chase them into this bigger army, and they'll get wiped out.
So what's interesting about this, and how I could see this being used in Warfronts, is it's like, so we're all going to be on the ground level, actually acting as the peons and acting as the units, basically. That's what we are. Yet there's going to, I would imagine, like there's going to be like just one overall AI controlling the enemy, as if it's playing like Starcraft almost, or playing Warcraft.
Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
Which is
Warcraft.
what all your buildings are based around already.
So
well,
I think that
they said that the commanders are going to have personalities. So you're going to have probably one that's like Marion Devecca. You're probably going to have one that's a very defensive, like in my notes I put down like Stats, because Stats is a very tidy, organized. He knows their build rotation. This is the build order, and he does it perfectly every single time. And it's such a solid build that he's got that it's really hard to break. But you know exactly what he's going to do because this is the standard build, and he makes the standard because he's just so strong at it. So you have like a Stats commander that's going to be just very defensive. You're going to have one that's going to be like starts defensive, and then when you break against him, then he sends all his units out to kill you. We're going to be collecting materials, and we are going to be collecting the wood and the lumber and the metals and stuff like that, not AI bots. And I don't think that players are going to be very interested in chopping down some trees.
Yeah.
But I was overlooking at Rathy today because they showed the map for Rathy, and it doesn't look any different. They also showed screenshots of, players out chopping wood.
They have the map? Where's the map?
Oh, it was in some of the...
Somewhere in the data mine.
MMO Champion, okay? MMO
Okay.
Champion. It was there. There's like 20 different maps that they put out. But anyway, it really looked a lot like the current thing we have, which is not lanes at all. It's wide open. So there's like a few trees here, a few trees there, like one tree like scattered all over the place. So if you're going to go like a ways away to get this one tree, well, I think a lot of players are just going to try and zerg it because it's such a very simple strat, and it's a very direct strat. If it fails, then they're over. They lost. They get to go to another warfront. Everyone knows what a zerg rush is. Even I do. I never played StarCraft for many years, but everybody knows what that is. Cannon rush, zerg rush, same thing.
How is that not known as Leroying it?
StarCraft came first.
True.
But the idea is that we're supposed to go out and chop down the trees and get the ore and like make the building, and but one strategy that a lot of StarCraft players do, and these AI bots did as well, is that they'll attack the harvester units as opposed to attacking like a military unit. If they could get to the harvester unit, they'll do that first. And there was even one bot that had a harvester unit go to the other guy's harvester area and start siphoning off his stuff so that when time came down to it, he would have less because he'd already taken it and taken it back home for his own units. That's pretty smart, actually. But I don't see players doing that. So I'm not sure how Blizzard's going to make that work, which is making this difficult because we don't know a whole lot about it just yet. But they would have tactics like, well, okay, as a player, we can see some things, they're in range, we're going to shoot them because that's what we do, But then if the AI runs away, and then there's like, who knew there was like a cavalry force of like 16 knights around the corner. Oops, my bad. So there's lots of things like that. And then they do like leapfrog tactics where they'll have units that are covering other units that are advancing, and then they'll move like forward like standard SWAT tactics. These are some very, very smart tactics. And they do the bantha thing where, like in Star Wars, the banthas always travel in a line, so you never know how many there are. That's what a lot of these bots are doing as well, so that you don't know how many are behind the ones that you can see.
Interesting.
There were some dots that had a string like a centipede almost across the entire map. It was that bad.
Wow. Well, this advancing AI, it sounds like we might have an easier time playing against actual people when we do the island expeditions versus playing against the AI.
And it's when they code the AI to, like, if you beat the AI, it's going to, like, go onto the forums and flame you. That's the next level of tech.
And it's actually going to break out of the system, and it's actually going to start just playing the game and become like the world first, and it's going to beat Method, and then it's going to just shame Method on the forums, and it's just going to become the best WoW player.
You laugh, and I know it's a tangent we won't go into because we've got time, but if we can program AI to run Starcraft and maybe the tech starts to work with Warcraft, how long is it until we start to introduce AI raid teams into the world first competition, or even for MDI, like running against an AI team?
I'm just going to let an AI play my account for me at that point. So
totally.
They've already got AI PvP bots that are not bad.
They kind of just follow the horde though, and they just run in locations. But if they had actual ones that were the best and could compete, oh man. Then what would the point be of playing the game?
Recruit a friend.
Win, to be world first.
To be world first, you're right. All right. Well, we're running out of time, so it's time to move to the final segment of the show. It's time for Blizzard. Just trying to find the sounder. There it is. It's time for 20 questions.
Geeks of Azeroth, the moment has arrived. Have you studied the lore? Studied the lore? I am the lore! It's time for Blizzard 20 questions.
And we've got the show notes up. Gary has the answer this time. We're going to play. And I'm going to start off. Is this from Warcraft?
Yes.
Back to basics.
All right.
Is it a person? Is it living? I don't like the look in your eyes here.
Okay.
Do you want me to type since you don't type very quickly?
Is it a person?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay.
It is not a person.
Should we ask if it's alive? Like it might be a mount or a pet.
Is it a living thing?
I'll take this to us, Gary. Person living.
God. It's not a person, but it's living.
Was it introduced? Was it introduced before Cataclysm expansion? In or before Cataclysm?
Yes.
Before Cataclysm. Okay.
Was it introduced in or before Burning Crusade?
No.
So Wrath or Cata?
Was it introduced in Wrath?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a mount?
No.
Living thing. Mount. Is this thing significant to the storyline?
Oh, that's a tough one. What do you define as significant, Tarley?
Like, it shows up more than once in the storyline.
Part of the Arthur's quest line, or
just of the general storyline of Wrath of the Lich King.
Okay.
No, it is not. It is not super important to Wrath of the Lich King storyline.
Is it in a raid or a dungeon?
No.
I think we're off on the wrong foot here.
The not a person thing is throwing me off. Like, what does that mean? Not a person.
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
yeah, that's
is it still a character? Like, are we?
Well, like Frostmourne is not living, but it's kind of a person because it's got souls in it and stuff.
That would be significant to the Wrath story.
Yeah.
But it's living. It is living. Frostmourne isn't living. I wouldn't define that as living anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we haven't asked what race it is, or if it's Horde or Alliance.
Is this specific to a faction?
Are you asking if it's faction aligned?
Yes.
It is not aligned to a particular faction, no.
Is this...
Yeah, is this thing found on Northrend?
No, it is not found on Northrend. The
Is
whole
this
rat
thing-
thing is throwing you off. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that straight up.
Introduced in Wrath, but not necessarily part of Wrath.
Is this thing still around in Legion?
No, it is not.
I have no, like, we're not even remotely, we don't even know what type of thing it is. We just know that it's a thing that's alive, that's not a person, whatever Gary defines as a person.
Okay, is it a weapon?
It is not a weapon, no.
Oh.
Are you hoping it was the waifu Zalatath?
Well, I was going to go around like through Shadowmourne or something like that. I know it's not living necessarily, but...
Introduced in Wrath.
I just see this list of not. Darn it.
Here,
Come on, Alisaunder.
I'm going to edit question number 2 for you guys, because you burned a question on something that's really throwing you off. So, not a person, but it is a character.
Well, I kind of figured that because it's living.
That confused me even more. Do they not have feelings?
Well, how can you be a person but not a character?
Hang on.
What do you define as a person?
Legal identity in Azeroth.
Well, like the dragons are people.
Went over that last week.
They're not people as in like
know.
a human person or something.
Is that what you think as a person is human? Is this a playable race?
It is not a playable race. Like, it's not a playable race, not... I don't know. It's not something I can really define as a person. It's hard to say, man. It's a weird question. I'm sorry.
It's a concept.
Okay.
Wait, okay,
chat.
wait.
Group chat without asking a question. So, could this... you see, even things like
okay.
Titans and things are
Kale's
out of my
face.
head.
Chromie was the answer last week, so it can't be Chromie.
Right.
But good try.
That's true. Is it? It's not a mount. Is it? It's a
There's
character.
the walrus
not a
people and the fake Tauren people, Buffalo people.
Not on Northrend, though. So,
It's not on what?
not found on Northrend. Question 11.
What the hell was introduced in Wrath but not found on Northrend? And it's not around.
Hang on, let's revisit this.
Wait, it wasn't in a raid. It's not in a raid. Damn it! I was like, it's got to be Algalon, but no.
Let's forget the Wrath thing. So let's just go with it's a character living.
But Wrath defines when it was in the game, though. Like, if it's not before Wrath, it's not after Wrath, so it came in Wrath. But why are we not supposed to think of Wrath?
It was introduced in Wrath and then removed in a Cataclysm patch, but it did not happen. Like, it's not relevant to the Northrend storyline or anything like that.
Oh, what was that called? The one that we went to the Undercity. That they took out the Undercity.
The invasion of Undercity?
What was the? There was
Black
Veramothras.
Quest.
There was Sargeras, voice of Sargeras. There was the
I'm just
shaking his
the
head.
undead guy. The undead guy that started it all. He pretty much got removed.
Is this a pet?
No, it is not a pet.
Damn it! It's
good
not
question,
Mr.
though.
Chili. It's not Mr. Chili.
Good question, though. Sugar. Character. There's got to be something we can use to narrow it down from character.
It's got to be from Battle of Undercity because that was removed, and it's not there. But it's not in Northrend.
No.
Gary's saying, shaking his head. Oh,
Similar event, but no.
Yeah. Is this from
similar event, but no. Right.
Yep. The Wrathgate. Is this from Wrathgate?
No.
Oh.
Well, there was the
That would have
plague.
been on Northrend.
There was the plague. There was the plague, but that left Northrend.
That was BC, because that happened in BC though.
Well, it was freelance to Wrath, kinda.
Did anything come with the invasion pre-patch?
This is such a... it happened in Wrath, but it's such
Gary's not allowed to do this anymore. Gary's not.
No, I think it's one of the better ones, actually.
Such abstract things every time.
It's not abstract. You guys just went down a path and got stuck on that path. It was the wrong path.
Yeah. It's so long ago. Introduced in Wrath. Like, I know it's not necessarily to do with Wrath in that way, but it's even the stuff that went into the game.
And it's not around.
You know what? Honestly, if I gave you inaccurate information, it probably would have helped move you along out of this.
So you had to lie to us to help us out. Oh.
There was a lot of hesitation over is it living and is it a character person, so...
Is it a person? It is a character.
Yeah.
But
You did
person is
clarify
a
that.
weird thing to... I don't know.
It's not a playable race. It's not a mount. It's not a pet. It was introduced in Wrath, but it wasn't in a part of Wrath, and it's not around now. And it was taken out in Cataclysm.
Not found on Northrend.
How many
Is it
questions are we on?
old school Unholy Death Knight?
No.
No.
Damn it.
That's not a character. Although I do miss on old school Unholy DK.
Yeah, there was
Alright.
the Death Knight starting experience, which was not in Northrend.
He
But
is a
that's still
character.
right.
I'm gonna give you a few here because I feel bad that you
Aw.
got stuck on this path. He was put in Wrath. He played a very, very minor role on a scenario that did not happen in Northrend, but he is going to be a fairly, I wouldn't say a major character in battle, but we're definitely going to see him in battle.
No, he was from...
Oh.
He is not faction specific, though there is one faction that will probably end up doing a lot more with him than another.
When was the Zandalar? When were they taken out? They were taken out in Kata, weren't they?
No, but they're in Mists. There's the
Oh.
Zandalar Trolls in Mists.
No, but the original Zandalar, the one that we did Reputation for.
With that boat, wasn't it? I can't remember the boat in Stormwind.
That was Vol'jin. That was the vote in Stormwind.
Oh, was it?
I have no idea. I mean, we have got 3 more questions, but I don't. Yeah, I'm completely at a loss.
Okay, so not aligned to a particular faction, may play a big part. It's the moot point. That's why we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, I can't think of a single event from Wrath that. Yeah,
We know it's a he though. Any significant?
I guess. I mean, it could be Bolvar, but not really, because Bolvar played a part in Legion, so it's not going to
And
be
Bolvar was also from Classic WoW.
right.
It's
And yeah, he
nothing
was at
Kulturis
Wrathgate
because
as
that's
well.
never been in game.
Yeah, well, Jaina, but
She's been around in every expansion
Right.
except for Legion. Well, she was in Legion a little bit. Never mind.
Oh, right. Should we go one question each? Try and narrow this down.
We'll make Tarley go last. I'll give him another hint at the very end to see if he can get it.
Alisaunder, have you got one? If not, I'll think of one. Do we? Oh, that's not actually that's not even
it's
gonna
a
help
tough
us.
one.
Really good. It's a really good one. As I can't ask that. Given the current data mine, does it look like we may fight this character?
Not likely from what we know of the story currently.
Okay. Sorry, guys, I tried. It's down to you, Alisaunder. I mean, it's down to Tarley as well, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
We're not even close. I can tell we're like not even anywhere close.
For
Yeah.
the podcast listeners, Tarley's got his head buried in his hands. He's
Yeah.
really not our saving knight at the moment.
I'm not far off.
Come on, Alisaunder. Be the
How
Anduin
many-
we need.
Has it?
Is it a? What's gonna?
Oh,
Literally,
we're so
you
far
know-
off. We don't even know what to ask.
No,
Is it
You-
an old
we-
god?
that's
It
probably
is.
your one.
It is not an old god.
Good
Okay.
question, though.
Right, setting the scene.
Last
Alisaunder,
question. This has to
it
be
is-
a guess.
it is a living
God.
character that may have something to do with Wrath and Battle for Azeroth. You need to guess it in one.
Before
Was
you make
removed
this
in
guess,
Cataclysm.
I will give you a little bit more of a hint.
Lifesaver.
Me and Tarley at BlizzCon this year did quests for this particular NPC while playing the battle beta or battle demo on the show floor.
Still at a loss. I don't remember. Oh!
I'm gonna say Nathanos, but he was introduced in Classic, so
Ugh.
it can't be him. But
See, I don't know if
never
Tarley
asked.
should answer, because I feel like Gary's just kind of told him secretly who it is.
I don't remember his name. Ah!
Tell us his race, something.
It's not a playable race. It's the Lao dude.
Vulpix.
Loa dude.
It's the what?
The Loa dude.
Volpira? Lower.
Loa.
Oh, the
The god.
frog
The
people.
troll god
troll
thing. What? Samdi? Is it Bot Samdi?
It is.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow. I mean, there's no
How
way I
was
would have.
that in Wrath? Okay, tell us where we went wrong.
Yeah, how was that in Wrath?
He made an appearance in Wrath during the liberation of the Echo Isles.
Oh my
Oh.
God, Gary.
I gave you accurate information. Like I told you, if I would have lied to you, it probably would have helped you along.
That was a good one. I have to admit,
That was
that was a good one.
okay. Yep.
I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
Loa are living.
They're
That's
not-
okay.
he's a spirit god. He's like the same thing as like Cenarius or.
That's kind of like dead, though.
or
He's
He's
you're a
not
spirit.
dead though. He still
He's-
exists in the physical realm as.
not really. As much as a loon does.
I mean, he's alive.
All right.
Ish.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to Geeks of Azeroth. As always, you can find us here Sunday mornings on Twitch TV/Geeks of Azeroth. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, whichever platform you want to use. And of course, you can talk to us on Twitter. Join the conversation at Geeks of Azeroth. Alisaunder, tell our audience where they can find you.
I am on the Hunting Party podcast, and I am also found on email segments of podcasts all over Blizzard podcasts.
All right. And you're on Twitter?
And I'm
at
also
all?
on Twitter as Daisemin, Daisemin. And I have a blog somewhere. It's called From Alisaunder.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Epic Geeks Tarley. Gary, where can we find you?
At Epic Geeks Gary.
And Britzza. You need to just change it up to Epic Geeks Britzza.
No, I can't. At Britzza_EG. I'm home with that one.
All right. And of course, you can be just like Alisaunder and send us email questions that we may or may not get to on the show at geeksofazerotheg@gmail.com. And remember to check out epicgeeks.co.uk for all the shows. And if you want to give us money, patreon.com/geeksofazeroth. Otherwise, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Everyone have a great week. Ta-ta.